You think you've seen everything this season? Hold up. Because one line from behind the scenes might have quietly slammed a door the 49ers faithful didn't want to see closing. And that's only the start. A veteran wideout just hit the market, and the fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense could be immediate. But the timing is ruthless. There's also a roster move that looks small on paper but feels like a message inside the building. And the defense? What Tennessee put on tape wasn't a random bad day. Before we jump in, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment early. What's the one thing you're most worried about right now? Receivers, defense, or locker room chemistry? Picture the scene. The team grinding through the week. Timing, chemistry, the little details. And one of the biggest names you associate with explosive plays is basically gone from the day-to-day. Not a normal injury absence, not he's taking it easy. A real disappearance. And when a head coach like Shanahan starts talking about a player like he's already a closed chapter, that's not just a quote for a reporter. That's the organization telling you where it's headed. Brandon Aiyuk being placed on the reserve left team list makes it nearly impossible to keep pretending this is getting patched up soon because it means he cannot return for the regular season. And Shanahan's comments after Sunday were as blunt as it gets. Per The Athletic's Matt Barrows, Shanahan basically said they haven't seen Aiyuk in forever, that he personally hasn't seen him in a month, and that this hasn't even been an issue for the team because they've been plugging away without him. Then he took it a step further and said he literally hasn't had to think about Aiyuk in a long time. That's not "we'll see." That's not "we're hopeful." That's cold reality. Here's why it hits harder. Shanahan was the guy pushing the front office not to trade Aiyuk when things got messy during the contract situation and Aiyuk requested a trade. Shanahan stuck his neck out. So hearing him talk like this now, you can feel the frustration, and maybe even that sense of, I defended you, and this is how it ends. In this league, trust is currency. When it cracks, the locker room feels it, the staff adjusts, and the front office starts planning the next step, whether fans are ready for it or not. The short-term silver lining is that the offense found answers. Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings stepped up against the Titans and made the absence easier to swallow in the moment. But let me challenge you. Today is one thing. What about next year? Because if Aiyuk is truly headed out, the wide receiver room could get thin fast. Pearsall has talent but has battled injuries. Jacob Cowing hasn't become consistent yet. Demarcus Robinson hasn't exactly locked down a solution role. That's how you end up one ankle sprain away from forcing your play calling to shrink. And in Shanahan's world, shrinking the playbook is basically surrendering leverage. And speaking of adding bodies, the market just dropped a name that makes too much sense not to at least discuss. Allen Lazard is officially out in New York. He was released on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, after requesting his exit with the goal of joining a contender. To be crystal clear, he is not a 49er right now, but he's exactly the type of opportunity target teams look at when December injuries hit, and you need a reliable veteran in a hurry. Now look at San Francisco's current reality. Pearsall aggravated a PCL issue and is also dealing with an ankle sprain, so his short-term availability is a question mark. Aiyuk is on the reserve left team list and can't return for the regular season. So if you're Shanahan and John Lynch and you just need a veteran body for snaps, red zone packages, and rotation depth, Lazard is the kind of swing you consider. He's not a save-the-season move. He's a role move. Big and physical at 6 feet 5 inches and 227 pounds, experienced, and he's got proven career production. 239 catches, 3,147 yards, 28 touchdowns. Even with a quiet 2025 line, 10 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown in 10 games, he checks boxes this offense cares about: route discipline, decision-making, and effort as a blocker. And if you watch Shanahan teams long enough, you know the truth. Sometimes the difference between a clean playoff win and a frustrating January exit is one veteran who lines up right, runs the route right, blocks with intent, and lets your run game and play action breathe. Now the suspense is the process. Lazard has to go through waivers. If a team claims him, that team takes on the remainder of his 2025 salary, roughly $291,667 for the final 3 weeks. If he clears waivers, he becomes a true free agent and can sign anywhere. And at that point, the cost and risk drop even more. So over the next 24 to 72 hours, watch 3 things. Whether another contender with a receiver need puts in a claim, what Pearsall's practice status looks like, and any quiet roster shuffling in Santa Clara that hints the 49ers are preparing to make a move. And I want you in the comments on this. Would you rather add Lazard for stability as a WR3/WR4 type, or ride fully with internal development and accept the risk? And while everybody debates receivers, don't ignore the moves that look small but scream urgency. The 49ers released cornerback Isaiah Bolden from the practice squad just days after signing him on December 10th. On the surface, it's routine. Bring a guy in, evaluate, move on. But in December, quick decisions like that usually mean the staff is hunting for immediate answers, not long-term projects. Bolden is an athlete, 6 feet 2 inches, 205 pounds with reported 4.35 speed, who spent his first 2 NFL seasons with the Patriots after being drafted in the 7th round in 2023. He appeared in 14 games there with 9 total tackles, mostly as a special teams piece, and New England released him on August 22nd. San Francisco took a quick look and moved just as fast. That tells you the standard is rising, and close enough isn't enough right now, not when your margin for error is disappearing, because the defense got put on blast by Tennessee. The Titans ran the ball easily, threw over the top, and left yards on the field with receivers running wide open. That wasn't just a bad afternoon. It looked like the structure getting exposed. And here's the scary part from what's already on the board. The final 3 opponents all have top 7 rushing attacks over the last 6 weeks, and their top 7 scoring offenses on the year. That's not a friendly schedule. That's a stress test built to punish every missed tackle and every busted assignment. Robert Saleh knows it. He's working with a unit that's been forced into awkward rotations. Curtis Robinson is a special teams player taking defensive snaps. And there were plays versus Tennessee where he looked completely out of position, even turning his back to the ball carrier. Getting Tatum Bethune back at practice matters because he improves run fits, communication, and playing fast. Those little every snap details that keep your defense from unraveling. Then there's Jason Pinnock, inconsistent, mistake-prone. And when you're getting attacked in the run game, inconsistency becomes a target on your chest. If Eric Kendricks is healthy, he needs to be on the field, especially for run defense. He's instinctive against the run and graded as a top 15 linebacker last year per PFF. Yes, if he's targeted in coverage, you adjust with defensive backs. But right now, the priority has to be stopping the bleeding on the ground. Saleh's mix of big nickel and small nickel, using Upton Stout on passing downs, has felt like a forced fix based on the skill sets available, not the ideal version of the scheme. And if you're experimenting to handle tight ends while still holding up versus the run, that's where a bigger body with coverage ability like Darrell Luter Jr. becomes worth a real look. Tight ends are about to test this defense again. After the coverage mistakes that led to the Gunnar Helm 34-yard touchdown, you better believe Indianapolis and Chicago will study that and try to recreate it. The plan against the Colts has to start with loading the box versus league rushing leader Jonathan Taylor. And against quarterback Phillip Rivers, Saleh's usual protect against explosives approach may not even be the priority, because last week, 17 of Rivers' 19 completions were 6 yards or fewer, and 9 of those were behind the line of scrimmage. When a quarterback is living underneath like that, you have to tackle, rally, and force long drives to die. And when Rivers did throw beyond 10 yards, he went 2 for 8 with an interception. That tells you what the Colts want. Stay on schedule, lean on the run, and let your defense crack first. Since Michael Williams went down, the 49ers have had the league's worst success rate on run defense. That's not a fix-it-later stat. That's a fix-it-now or January is going to be ugly stat. Getting the full defensive line rotation back would be huge, but they also need to manufacture negative plays. Malik Mustafa is frequently in position to run blitz, and even if he doesn't finish the tackle, that split-second disruption can let the rest of the defense rally, With one of the worst sack totals in the league, tackles for loss have to be created on purpose, not hoped for. So that's where we are. The Aiyuk chapter feels like it's closing. Lazard is a real opportunity target if the receiver room needs a veteran in a hurry. The roster is getting trimmed with urgency, and the defense has to fix what Tennessee exposed right now. And I want your honest take. Which of these is the biggest concern heading into January? The receiver room, the roster churn, or this run defense? Drop it in the comments, debate it with the Niner gang, and if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell, because the red and gold season isn't done talking yet.